Hey everyone, I wrote my thoughts down in regards to a CBC opinion piece that, to be honest with you, I was quite shocked to see, but then I recognized instinctively that, yeah, CBC is Canada's national broadcaster, publicly funded, so they have to at least allow alternative opinions to be put forth and presented at least periodically, so that their collective narrative doesn't seem to be completely dominant and absent of dissenting opinion. Jessica Goddard, who was the author of this opinion piece, did a great job of explaining and presenting the dialogue that is in complete contrast to this constant anti-male, anti-white male propaganda that you've been hearing put forth and espoused by so many people in the establishment media. She was actually defending men and suggesting that, yeah, just because people like Harvey Weinstein or some of these other males in high positions of power or authority treated, whether it was their male subordinates or female subordinates in a negative manner sexually, that doesn't mean that all men are that way. You can't collectivize, half the population, right? The entire male species, just to align with your kind of political propagandist or feminist ideology or narrative that you're trying to present. We should all be respected as individuals, whether you're male or female, adult or child. We are all individuals. So anytime you collectively describe and paint all men as being sexual predators or deviants, you're actually causing more harm than good. You're not helping women by basically telling them that all men are bad and evil or vile. What you should be doing is holding those who are truly vile, those who are truly despicable, those who are truly oppressive towards women or violently or sexually abusive towards women. You should be pointing to those individuals. And if you did so, you would see the rest of the men in the world backing you up. But when you try to collectivize men and suggest just because you're of the same sex that you must have the same kind of habits or behaviors, yeah, that's not the way, that's not the proper approach to try to deal with this kind of shit. Anyway, I'm just going to read the thoughts that I put in text form to help clarify my position in regards to this particular topic. Being Canada's publicly funded news and media outlet, I suppose the CBC had no choice but to finally allow at least one article to be presented that actually defends men in regards to this latest round of collective attacks on them because of some old pervert in Hollywood. But of course, it is an opinion piece from Jessica Goddard, who is an opinionated, underemployed millennial from Mississauga, Ontario. Surely the editorial board or regular contributors would never do it themselves, which tells you a lot about the culture of the CBC. I have been pointing out the blatant disrespect and vitriol being spewed by CBC reporters who openly write or verbally lambaste anything that is white and male for a long time now. And even though I do so without any ill intentions or attempts to demean women, just so you know, my lady of 27 years, my mother, and my grandmother are three of the most important people in my life. I am relentlessly attacked for even daring to challenge the narrative put forth by these man-bashing types who seem to wish nothing more than to paint men, white ones in particular, as nothing more than knuckle-draggers or entitled and privileged assholes who rule over women with an iron fist. Apparently, the fact that 71% of the public sector, those who are part of or work for the government, are women does not enter into their mind when they are presenting their anti-men dialogue or rhetoric. Being a part of working for the ruling class and having a well-paying job that is basically guaranteed for their life, and when you consider the gold-plated pensions they receive, is the very definition of privilege when you consider almost no one in the private sector could ever dream of having such security. And the fact that it is those of us in the private sector that are forced to pay the overbloated salaries of these people, you would think they would bite their tongues once in a while, if not for any other reason, than to keep the gravy train rolling right along. But alas, therein lies the problem. Since Canadians have no choice in the matter as to whether they wish to support the CBC, there is no real threat or danger of losing their jobs or incomes, regardless of what they say in their anti-white male tirades that are becoming more and more common in the articles and programs they produce. Talk about being entitled. No other place of business could dare allow prejudicial hatred and scorn towards an entire sex to be an acceptable practice or position, because they would go out of business in short order or be sued for lies and slander. Yet the people in this crown corporation, which is just a different way of saying a quasi-branch of the government, can do so on a continual and ongoing basis. This is wrong, it is immoral, unethical, and extremely damaging to the masses in so many ways. Sorry for the long rant, but this is something I have been wanting to say in a hopefully well thought out and articulate way for a long time. I hope that those who read this, whether you fully agree with me or not, will at least give it a share with others and maybe help push back against this behemoth hard-working men and women are forced to subsidize, namely the CBC. So those are my thoughts put in text form. But like I said, I can't help pointing out on a continual and ongoing basis how detrimental this divisiveness, this kind of male bashing presented by those in the media towards men. This is having a devastating effect on the psychology, the psyche, and the self-confidence of not just men, but a lot of kids, a lot of boys that are growing up in this atmosphere where they're basically forced to look at themselves as being second-class citizens in comparison, in contrast to everyone else. It's disgusting, and it's very harmful, and it's not just harmful for the men, but it's harmful for the young girls, for the young ladies, for the women out there that desperately need and seek out strong, independent, moral, and ethical men. Those people are being shoved into this same kind of collective narrative. So at some stage, at some point, a lot of girls will look at men as being nothing more than their oppressors, than their enemy. And while that might have a devastating effect on those men, obviously, it will also have a very nasty and negative effect on those women. Dividing the sexes, destroying natural human traits and behaviors, that's not going to prove to be beneficial for either sexes. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.